to another episode of the Fourth Quarter Podcast. I am your host, Jonathan. We got a nice little slate coming up this week for NFL games. But before we get into that, just want to talk about college football for a minute. Um, Colorado was, underwhelming yesterday against Oregon. But I mean, I don't think, well, me personally, I didn't think they were a complete team to begin with, especially after watching that very first game against TCU. There's a lot of flaws in the defensive line and the offensive line, so both lines for the team. There's flaws, and there's no way you can win that way. You're not getting pressure to the quarterback. You're allowing them to be comfortable. You're allowing people just to run through you. So the defense is big in terms of lacking in that area. And then offensively, the offensive line is it's not holding protection long enough for Shador to actually do something against more skilled teams. For example, Oregon. Um, don't get me wrong, Shador, tried his hardest to keep them, somewhat competitive throughout the entire time of the game, and it just wasn't working. And then, the laziness on defense, the lack of effort on defense, it just made this game worse than what I expected. Hopefully, Travis Hunter comes back sometime soon, seeing that he played a big part in regards to just how well the defense is when he's there. Even the offense is a little bit more potent when Travis Hunter is available. And, obviously for the injury purposes, he wasn't. So that definitely played a big part. But again, I think that even with him there, because of the holes in the defense and the holes in the offense in regards to both lines, it just wasn't going to be an easy win for Colorado, and it just turned into an embarrassing loss. But, I feel that it was a humbling experience for them. They were on their high horse, and rightfully so. A lot of people counted them out. A lot of people didn't think that they would be 3-1 right now. But, here we are. I think their next game is against USC, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think that, Coach Prime is in the right position still. I didn't necessarily like the comments made by the Oregon coach, basically saying that Colorado was fighting for clicks and Oregon was fighting for wins. I don't know what it is about these coaches and the the motive that they have. Like the disrespect is just obvious, borderline racist, if we're being honest. Um, I mean, I love Coach Prime's response. Post game, he said that was good old fashioned butt kicking. But be happy that you get it now because this is the worst that we're going to be. And I agree with him. You just see the dynamic of what he's doing at Colorado, how he has changed the whole dynamics of college football, if we being honest. And people want to play for a coach like him, plain and simple. People want to play for a coach like him. So just imagine all of the great recruits he's going to get next year. I'm pretty sure Travis Hunter and Shador are going to be there for at least another year, Shiloh as well. So the core pieces that he has, they're going to still be there. And the team is only going to get better. The team is only going to get better. But yeah, that was pretty much the biggest game that was talked about all week. Obviously outside of that, you had the Notre Dame and Ohio State game. Marvis Harrison was dealing with some type of injury throughout the game, and it came down to the last possession, literally until the clock hit zero. Ohio State pulled out a win at the very last second, 17-14. And yeah, I mean, you got to first tip your hat to Notre Dame. They're a really well-rounded team. They fought pretty much the entire game, and they deserve that position in the rankings that they have because that team is really good. Like you're talking about two top 10 teams going at it. And obviously, everybody knows Ohio State is going to be Ohio State. Uh, but Notre Dame really held their own. The matchup between, I can't remember his name right now, the DB who was covering Marvin Harrison Jr., he was doing his thing for a majority of the game. So I think that's going to be a team to watch throughout the remaining of the college football season. Um, Michigan continues to steamroll teams. I don't think they're really going to get tested until they play Penn State and Ohio State, which isn't going to be until November. So I see them remaining perfect, probably the number 2 or number 1 team uh, up until that point. And that's when things are gonna, you know, be a little bit more in perspective. But for week 3, for the NFL slate, we have the Titans going against the Browns. Um, I kind of like the Browns in this. Obviously with them losing Nick Chubb for the season, it's very, very difficult. I believe they did end up signing Kareem Hunt, who's familiar with, the Cleveland Browns organization, seeing that he did play there. So I think that should help them out. Deshaun Watson just has to be better. So this is going to be a game to, I guess, really get him back on the right track of being who he's supposed to be. So we'll see about that. The Vikings versus the Chargers. I think that's going to be a shootout game. So if you're looking for a play, I think a Justin Jefferson anytime touchdown is in the works. I also think, TJ Hawkinson. I know that's 2 Vikings players, but I think both of them are going to have good games today. I also like a Keenan Allen anytime touchdown as well. So that one I think is going to come down to the last couple minutes because I think the odds for the Chargers was negative 116 and the one for the Vikings was negative 102. So it really can go either way. Vikings are at home, so I'm gonna give them an edge a little bit. Um, Even though this is like a must win for the Chargers, especially for Coach Staley, um, I just think the Vikings pull it out, especially after coming off of that loss against the Eagles. They battled back, so honestly, if they had a little bit more time, who knows how that game could have went. So we'll see. You got the Patriots and the Jets. I think the Patriots get their first win of the season against the Jets, only because I don't see the Jets really being that good offensively, being led by Zach Wilson. Um, Dalvin Cook hasn't really been the Dalvin Cook that we're accustomed to, and if they continue to not really give Brees Hall the ball as often as they should, their offense isn't going to be thriving the way that it should. So Mac Jones and the New England Patriots, I think, are a little bit more well-rounded right now. Uh, Now, obviously, if Aaron Rodgers was playing, we would be having a different conversation. But given the circumstances, I'm going to give the edge to the Patriots for this game. Then we have the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Houston Texans. I like the Jaguars. I think they're a little bit more of a complete team. But I do feel like CJ Stroud has a good game. I like Nico Collins over 40 yards and Tank Dell over 40 yards. I think that CJ Stroud is going to get another opportunity to have those connections with his receivers, continue to develop as a quarterback in the NFL, a young quarterback at that. But I do like the Jaguars taking the win in this one. Then we have Buffalo versus the Washington Commanders. I like Buffalo, even with them being on the road. Sam Howell still has a little bit more to prove to me. He is a good quarterback, but he has a little bit more to prove to me. Commanders are actually coming off of a win against the Denver Broncos. So, obviously that was a very tough game. It literally came down to the last possession. They, caused the non-converted 2 points. So that helped them win the game and avoid going to overtime. I think this is around the time that the Bills are going to hit their stride. And go on a nice little win streak, especially after that tough loss week one against the Jets. They just have to. Um, Josh Allen has to continue to prove that he is an MVP caliber type of quarterback. So I expect a high passing game from him today. Um, I'm not really sure what props I want to take for that. That one I might just leave alone. Um, Yeah, that one. I'm. If anything, I'll probably take the money line. But yeah, I might just leave that one alone. Then we got the Ravens versus the Colts. With Anthony Richardson out, we don't get to see the comparisons of Anthony Richardson and Lamar Jackson. We don't get to see that matchup, at least not right now. Um, I like Baltimore. I really like a Zay Flowers anytime touchdown. I know I've been on the Zay Flowers bandwagon since before the season started. But I really do feel like he has been productive in these first two games, and it's just only a matter of time before he gets that touchdown. I think today is going to be that day. Uh, so that's one of the players that I like from that, and I like Lamar Jackson rushing over 40 yards. Then we have the Falcons and the Lions. We got Detroit at home. Um, I want Detroit to have a bounce back game, but I feel like people are sleeping on Atlanta. I don't feel that Atlanta is getting the amount of respect that they deserve. On top of that, David Montgomery is out from what I'm hearing with an injury. So that means honestly just more touches for Jamar Gibbs. So that would be exciting to see. Um, we get a Jamar Gibbs versus Bijan Robinson type of game. I like that. Um, hmm. I don't know. I think that it's gonna be a real close game. I'm gonna give the edge to Atlanta only because I want Atlanta to win. I would much rather see a divisional team lose. But no, realistically, I think that it's gonna be an overall good game. It can go either way. Um, and Detroit might just have a little bit more of an edge seeing that they are at home. And they do have a little bit of a better team. I just feel that Atlanta is gonna play to that competition. They're not gonna just lay down and allow Detroit to win. At least that's how I see the game going. Then we got the Packers versus the Saints. I like the Saints. Derek Carr is a little bit more seasoned. Even though it's a road game, I like the Saints defense. I think their defense is going to be the biggest test that Jordan Love has seen up to this point. And really, see is he really that good of a quarterback? Is he really Aaron Rodgers' replacement, or has it just been two, first good games? So I think that this would be a good test for him. Obviously he hasn't had his number one wide receiver in Christian Watson available, but he's still been making do. The Jaden Reed rookie wide receiver that they have has stepped up. So he has somebody, he could toss the ball to. Romeo Dobbs is there. Um, Lucas Musgrave is there. So he has, some weapons still available to his hand. I think Aaron Jones is still out, so that's also a big hit. Overall, I just feel that the Saints have better athletes. Chris Olave and Derek Carr. I like that tandem. And yeah, I think this one is going to be Saints 24-20. Um, the only prop that I would probably take on that is Olave over 60 yards. Then we have Broncos and Dolphins. I like the Dolphins for that game. Seahawks versus the Panthers. I like the Panthers. Actually, no. I like the Seahawks. I don't know why I just said the Panthers. I like the Seahawks at home. Geno Smith, I think, is still playing like how he was playing last year. He has, another weapon in Jackson Smith and Jigba. And the defense has been pretty decent so far in these first two games. So I like that. I feel that Carolina is still going through growing pains. I think Bryce Young is actually not going to start today. So Andy Dalton versus Geno Smith. I'm taking Geno Smith. Um, I like Geno over 225. I think that the defense of the Panthers isn't that good. I know Brian Burns is still available. I think J.C. Horn is still currently out, so that is a blow to the secondary. Yeah, so 225. I think that's relatively easy for Geno Smith to hit today. Then we have my Chicago Bears versus the Chiefs. Um, Not trying to be a homer. I think that with all of the turmoil going on in Chicago right now, uh, there could be potential distractions that go into this game. Hopefully, the coaching staff and the organization overall has done a good job to take those distractions out of, the way so that players aren't really thinking about that throughout the game. I do feel that, with the whole Justin Fields controversy, he's going to have a good game. So that's my prediction. My prediction is Justin Fields has a hell of a game. Um, I would say 3 total touchdowns, maybe 2 passing, 1 rushing. I just feel that he is going to have a good game, whether they win or lose. I just see him having a good game. So 225 passing, I think that's a lot. And I also think that he's going to have 60 yards rushing, um, 3 total touchdowns. Who knows? Maybe DJ Moore finally gets his first touchdown as a Chicago Bear. Um, we'll see. Um, Other than that, I don't really like much from that game. Who knows? We might shock the world today. I promise you, I would be shocked if we win. Then we got the Cowboys versus the Cardinals. I like the Cowboys, even with Diggs being out with the ACL tear. Speedy recovery to him, but still like the Cowboys. Overall, more complete team than the Cardinals currently. And yeah, then we have the Raiders versus the Steelers. I like the Steelers and the upset in Vegas. Then we have the Monday night slate with the Eagles and the Bucks, and then the Rams and the Bengals. Depending on Joe Burrow's situation, um, I don't know. I think I want to take the Bengals just because we still haven't seen Joe Burrow be Joe Burrow, and we're in week 3. Obviously, he hasn't been 100%. So, maybe that's taking some of the blame of his gameplay. But yeah, the Bengals being 0-2 was not in my bingo card. It wasn't on my bingo card for this year. So I think that's going to be a game to watch. The Rams haven't been terrible. Um, they obviously took a blow with losing Cooper Kupp, but Puka Nacua has stepped up. This 5th round rookie has really stepped up in these first 2 weeks. Who knows? We'll see how week 3 goes. But if we looking at the same thing that we've been seeing in these first 2 weeks in week 3, then that's a discussion to have as a sleeper to watch for offensive rookie of the year. Um, I'm gonna for right now, I'm gonna lean towards the Rams. With them being on the road, just not knowing the status of Joe Burrow. And then for the Eagles in Tampa Bay, I think that's going to be Baker Mayfield's first true test uh, in regards to like the best defense that he's faced up until this point in the season. Even with the injuries that the Eagles have had on the defensive side, I think that their defense is still a little bit better than the first 2 that the Bucks have faced. I like the Eagles. I think they roll on and stay undefeated for now. Um, they still haven't really caught their stride that like I expect them to offensively. So who knows? Maybe this is one of those games where Jalen Hurts has aired it out a little bit more. I know the Eagles are a run first type of team, but I just want to see Jalen Hurts play like he played last year. And it was well balanced, and he was not scared to throw it. He was in the MVP talks for a reason. So I want to see that Jalen Hurts. I know it's still technically early in the season, but I think that we see that type of showing today. Um, but that is the games. That is my preview for week 3. Thank you for tuning in, and we will be back very soon later this week with another episode. Thanks again for supporting us. Until then, bear down.